If the Senate confirms Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett, 6 out of 9 justices will be appointed by Republican presidents. And while the right is celebrating this potential conservative majority, Democrats aren't so happy. They say the GOP shouldn't confirm a justice this close to the election, especially after Senator McConnell blocked Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland, back in early 2016. But now, some Democrats are calling for a bold suggestion, expanding the court if Joe Biden wins the White House. It's being referred to as court packing, and it's a controversial idea, one that Biden has dodged in recent weeks.
Would you consider adding more Supreme Court justices to the bench?
It's a legitimate question, but let me tell you, I'm not going to answer that question.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question is the question
Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
your,
man?
listen,
However, Biden did provide this hint recently.
They'll put together a national commission bipartisan commission of scholars, constitutional scholars, Democrats, Republicans, liberal, conservative. And I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system, because it's getting out of whack, the way in which it's being handled. And it's not about court packing. There's a number of other things that our constitutional scholars have debated.
So, can a president add more justices to tilt the balance of the court? Well, the short answer is no. The executive branch just doesn't have that power. Instead, the president needs to convince the House and Senate to sign off on expanding the court. That means in a Biden presidency, he'd probably need a liberal majority in Congress to make that happen. But that's still not a guarantee. Take 1937, when FDR tried packing the courts to help secure the New Deal.
Our difficulty with the court today rises not from the court as an institution, but from human beings within it.
The Democratic-controlled Congress was not on board, but the threat itself is thought to have nudged conservative justices to rule in favor of minimum wage laws, unemployment compensation, and maybe even Social Security, though the exact motivations of the justices of the time is, of course, unknown. It's commonly referred to as the switch in time that saved 9. Now, if the president and both chambers of Congress approve, expanding the court could happen. There is nothing in the Constitution that says the Supreme Court needs to have 9 people. It's a number that's actually fluctuated throughout history.
It started out at 6, it went to 5, then in 1807 it went to 7, and up to 9 in 1837. Very briefly it was 10, and then it worked its way back down. But those changes were not court packing. As the nation expanded, you had to add circuits. If you had to add circuits, you had to add justices to the Supreme Court to service the circuits.
Russell Wheeler is a visiting fellow at Brookings. He's also a SCOTUS expert.
I don't think there's anybody made any serious suggestions to change the size of the court. You might have heard it in the 1960s and 50s during the Warren Court era with its decisions on school desegregation and criminal procedure, which were very unpopular. The kind of change that's been talked about much more frequently now has been imposing term limits on the justices. They're now serving around 27 years on average.
House Democrats recently introduced a bill about this. It proposes an 18-year term for justices instead of a lifetime appointment. Critics say this plan would run into hot water as the Constitution states justices, quote, shall hold their offices during good behavior. But reformers work around this by saying they would stay judges and simply move to lower courts after their terms.
Why do you think Biden has been reluctant to talk about the issue of court packing? What's the calculus there?
Well, I don't think he wants to offend moderates in the party. I think Biden's view would be, let's at least wait and see how this plays out before we start tampering with this norm. If we do this, will my chances of reaching compromises with Republicans and other matters, will that be seriously diminished?
There you have it. Presidents can't expand the courts on their own. Congress needs to be involved. A move like this would certainly break the century-and-a-half-old norm, but we aren't exactly in normal times.
What used to be a fairly ministerial task, confirming judges, because litigants need judges, has turned into a knockdown, drag-out battle due to the same polarization that keeps the government from enacting appropriations bills and all the other things it used to do fairly easily. It just can't do it anymore.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.